Welcome back, Simple Homeowners. Today, I want to show you how I'm going to try to fix my refrigerator. The ice machine is no longer making ice. However, the mechanism works. Water is coming in, so I can get water. So I know water is coming in, but for some reason the water is not going into the ice maker. You can hear the ice maker turning, but it's not making ice. So I think I've narrowed it down to what the problem is, but we'll see how this works. This is an older refrigerator. However, everything seems to be working fairly well except for what I just noted. So you can see over here, the water line comes in. These green and brown things here are solenoids. They're the ones that control where the water goes in your refrigerator. When it calls for water, it'll open up and water will go. Same with the other one. One's for the ice machine, one's for the water dispenser. So I believe that is my issue. So I've ordered a new one. It actually came fairly quickly. So here's the replacement. And this is what I think it is. One of these solenoids went bad. So I'm gonna try to replace it and see if that takes care of it. If that doesn't take care of it, there's another option that I have inside the ice maker itself. I'll have to pull the cap off, and there's a gear and mechanism in there that needs to be repaired. So let's see if this will do the trick. First thing we need to do is turn the water off. Then we'll unplug it, make sure that there's no power to it. Unscrew the solenoid and pull it out. I'm also going to mark the water line so I'll know which is which when I put it back. I have the power off. I've turned the water off. So now all we need to do, and these are 1/4-inch screws, just remove these. So underneath here, there's some clips. They just need to be pulled out, and then the water line will come off. So what I'm going to try to do is do one at a time. As you can see, the colors aren't exactly the same on this replacement part. So the green is here, but these aren't color-coded either. So I'm going to try to just do it one at a time, and that way there shouldn't be any issues. So I'm just pulling them with my finger right now. This little thing here, you push up and you pull it down. There was some water in the line. So same thing on here. Just pull the pin off. Push up. Feels like it's in there pretty good. I'm going to put the pin right back in. There, that's one. Pull the pin off of this one, just have it ready. So here's the second one. It'll have water in it too, it'll make a little mess. Pull that up. Pull it out. It feels like it's in there really well. You can feel it'll lock in there. I get these sausage fingers and it doesn't make it easy to put these little clips on. So this one I had to just pull it down a little bit to get that clip on. So there we are, we're almost through. So got one more water line in the back. So what I'll do so I can need it to come out a little bit further. This water line isn't as long. And while I'm here doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and unplug it. So this goes to this one. And I know where the other one goes. So I'm just gonna pull that out of the way till I can get the water line on. Another clip here. Pull that off. So get the blue clip. Okay, the blue clip's in there pretty good. Now, just need to add the electrical part back on. And I'm just double checking the feed here to make sure. And it feels pretty good on all of those. Put the last screw in. While I'm down here, I'm looking at everything else. I could use a vacuum to clean things out, but other than that, it still looks fairly well in here. So what I'm going to do now is plug it back in, turn the water on, and let's hope we don't have any leaks. Okay, water's on. So far, so good. So I put the valve in and it still didn't work. So what I noticed is when I pulled this cap off, this end here, and there's a piece in here I pulled out to clean out also, but there was a layer of ice all the way through here. There should be no layer of ice. So what I think was happening was my valve was continually running and putting too much water in the ice fill, and it kept leaking out here, and it would just freeze up to where it finally stopped. So the ice maker still might be bad. I don't know yet, but the next thing I'm going to do is clean all the ice out, plug this piece back in, and then I'll show you. I'll do a manual call for water and see what happens. And if that still doesn't work, I'm pretty sure it's probably this thing that's the ice maker itself that's probably bad. But we'll test it out from here, and I'll show you what's next. This is the piece that I pulled out that had the ice at the bottom. I've dried it up the best that I could. So I'll put it back in. Also dried this out the best that I could. And I only used a hair dryer because I was afraid if I used a heavier duty heat gun, it could melt these plastics. So let me put it back together. It was just 3 screws, there's 2 at the top and 1 here. I also have it unplugged too. I didn't know what I was going to see inside. Now, from what I've read online, you can jump it here and it'll manually make the ice maker start. So we'll see what happens, but I have to plug it back in to do that. So I did the jumper, and as you can see, it's moving. So we're going to see if it calls for water. You can see the fingers are moving. You can also remove the jumper once you get going. All we're doing is waiting for it to call for water. I do see water leaking or down here, so there might be more. See it leaking from down here, so there could be more ice back in there. You can see the arm that turns it off is coming back up. Okay, should be calling for some water here shortly. Okay, there's the call for water. Water's filling up. All right, we might be in business. All right, let's see what happens in a few hours, see if we get any ice. So I just want to give an update to where we are on this. So far, I've replaced this valve. This is the water valve, which this one was bad, so it wasn't allowing water to come into the ice maker. So I replaced that. The ice maker started to work a little bit. I've had it harvest ice a couple times, but not nearly the way it's supposed to. So what I've done now is I had to buy a new ice maker machine itself. So I had to order this ice maker. So what I'm going to do is try to replace this with the one that's in there. Now there's some parts that I have to take off the other ice machine to put on this one. This ice machine, I actually paid extra for a wiring harness to come with it, and it did not come with it, so I need to figure out what happened there. But I can use the old wiring harness. The problem with the old wiring harness is there's like a fuse that's here. It's a thermostatic fuse, and I'm a little concerned that that might, it's not here now, but the one that I'm gonna switch it with, I'm afraid that there could be something wrong with that. So if it still doesn't work, it could be part of that wiring harness. But from everything I've read, everything that I've researched, this should take care of the problem now. It looked like I had multiple issues. So let's swap this out and see what happens. So what I need to do is pull this out. This is the ice bucket. There's some ice in there, but it's not nearly what it needs to be. So here's the current one that's in here now. So I need to pull this out and swap it with the new one that I just bought. So I'll have to replace the arm, and then there's a wiring harness. So let me get some tools and take care of that. There's 2 screws on top, and then there's one down here on the bottom. So let me get to that. I'm gonna try to do it while the freezer is still running. You probably should unplug it, but I feel comfortable enough that I'm not going to do that. So I'm gonna try to undo the screws. You don't pull them all the way out, you just unscrew them. They're 1/4-inch screws, and it's very tight to see in here. My large belly, turn the light off, can't see anything. So let me just fiddle around with this, and once I get it, I'll show you. And there's a screw on the bottom that comes all the way out. Again, these are 1/4-inch screws. Just using this. So I've got the other 2 loose. You lift up. Looks like it needs to come out a little bit more. Okay, in here in the back, there's a harness, which is right here. And you just unplug it like that. The reason I'm having the freezer stay on is because right now it's 33 degrees, so I'm gonna try to let it warm up a little bit, cool down more. The problem is everything that they tell you is the freezer needs to be 0 degrees for this to work at its optimal ability. So as you can see, there's ice in here now. It's just very slow in the harvest process. So what this thing does, it's kind of interesting how this works. These are fingers that spin around through the motor here. It spins around. Then when it gets to where it needs to harvest, they call it harvest when the ice is ready to come out, there's a heater underneath here. So it's like when you take an ice tray and you twist it like that, because they all stick, the ice always sticks. This heats it up just enough, heats this mold up to where when these fingers flip around, it's all timed, where it'll just harvest the ice and they'll fall into the ice bin. So what I need to do is take this off. This is the on-off switch, as well as this harness. I need to recover this harness. And here is the thing I was worried about. It's like a thermocoupler. It has a fuse in here. So we'll see how this goes. And if for any reason it doesn't work, this is fairly simple. to repair. I'll just have to pull it back out again. As you saw, it only took a few minutes to do it. So let me get moving these things around. We'll go from there. And also this bracket needs to be put on this other one as well. Make sure. Yeah. So this is side by side. So I have to take the bar off, put it over here. So technically, this goes like that. Put this one like that. This bracket needs to go over here, and then the wiring harness needs to go over there. So that's what we're doing now. So there's a tab here. You need to push down on it and pull this out. It's kind of cold and it's plastic. There we go. So that's out. So all we have to do is the same thing here. Put it back in. You can hear that clicked. Thermal coupler goes back underneath here. And then this will screw into the refrigerator itself. So the last thing we have to switch over is the arm. So we need to take this out of here, just like that. Put that in there like that. There, and it's in there. This should come up, locks. It does, make sure, and makes it off. So when we put it back in the freezer, we want to make sure the water spout that's in there is lined up here. It goes into this little cup. That's where the water feeds into the tray. Then we plug it in and put the screws back in, and that should be all we need to do. So I'm gonna plug it in first, since I can see it. It's on there. Now I just have to tighten it up with my tool here. Let's see if I can see it again. This is probably the hardest part. Oh. All right, so I just had the bottom screw to put in and back in business. And you don't want to over tighten it. So we're at 32 degrees. I'm gonna let it get a little bit colder, then I'm gonna turn it on. So the water is now filling, you can hear it, and it's filling into the tray. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn it on. See where we are in the cycle here. I'll put the ice tray in. So we're on, we're ready to go. It's 32 degrees, but hopefully it'll cool off since I kept it running. So let's keep our fingers crossed that this worked, because if it didn't at this point, other than changing the wiring harness, I don't know what else to do. I'm not an appliance repair person. I've just researched a lot on these ice makers, and that seems to be what the main cause is. So let's see how this goes. It's the next afternoon after putting the ice maker in, and good news, it's actually working, producing ice. It's doing really good. So let me show you what the tray looks like. Hasn't been 24 hours yet, but it's working great. So that's all it needed. I can feel in there now. There's more ice that's getting ready to be harvested. So that was the important part. So just a recap of what I did, I replaced the water valve that was faulty, as well as the ice maker. So we're back and running. The ice maker was about $127. It's a genuine factory part. There were some other ones that are cheaper, about $100 or so, but I decided I wanted to go with the factory. They give you a year warranty on this one. It's a couple days later, and things are going okay, but there were some minor adjustments I had to do. When it filled the ice tray with water, it started leaking down into the freezer. It looked like the ice machine itself was not level, so I put a level on it, readjusted it, and it seems to be working just perfect now. It's still not as fast as we would like, but it's just the way it was before it went out. I made a few minor adjustments on the timing gear, and that seemed to help also, and it keeps continuing to make ice. Let me just show you what I was talking about. When it filled up with water, I was getting these stalagmite things here. And it would overfill and come down into the freezer here. That's why the bucket's there. So there's an adjustment behind this cover that you can turn clockwise or counterclockwise, and it has the water run longer depending on where it's adjusted. So it was doing pretty good. I adjusted it back to where originally it was. Looks like there's a little bit of ice here forming, so I might have to do another tiny adjustment. But also this was out of level, so I think it was down like that and the back was filling up more and it was causing it to leak. So I don't see any leaks right now, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it. So I feel comfortable that I fixed the problem by replacing the ice maker as well as the water valve. So that's all I have for you on this time. So if you like this type of video, just give me a thumbs up. And if you like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Welcome back, Simple Homeowners. Today I wanna show you, welcome back, Simple Homeowners. Today I have a